Good evening and thanks for keeping a date with us on the program Transforming Agriculture in Nigeria. As the year draws to a close, we shall begin the review of some major breakthroughs in research and innovations in the Nigeria agricultural sector and stakeholders' engagement to enhance agricultural value chain in Nigeria. Tonight on the program, we begin the review on the activities of research institutes in the areas of breakthroughs in crop production, transfer of technologies to farmers, and the general impact they have made in the agricultural sector of the economy. But before then, we'll take the news on the activities of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development and its agencies. Stay tuned.
Ensure that we provide the necessary policy direction that will truly position agriculture as the mainstay of our economy.
The federal government is removing obstacles and offering opportunities for self-employment, wealth creation, and food security in the Nigeria's agricultural sector.
Think farming, think agriculture.
Watch Transforming Agriculture in Nigeria, showing on NTA Fridays at 8:30 p.m.
In our diary tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari launches Rural Access and Agricultural Market Project. Also, federal government launches a strategic document for the control of transboundary animal diseases. These and other stories shortly. President Muhammadu Buhari recently launched the Rural Access and Agricultural Marketing Project, designed to link farming communities and their produce to the market in city centers. The project was funded by International Development Association, the French Development Agency, and the Nigerian government.
And management of
Speaking during the launch of the project in Abuja, President Muhammadu Buhari, who was represented by the Borno State Governor, Babangida Umara Zulum, stated that the project was part of the administration's commitment to provide access and connectivity between agricultural market and production centers to improve the general economic well-being of the rural population.
Today, 19 states have fulfilled the criteria set by the federal government and the development partners for participation in the project. However, it is my administration's plan to ensure that every state benefits from this laudable project. It is also pertinent to state here that this administration remains committed to changing the narrative of the economy through diversification initiatives like this one. I beseech all governors here present to take up this challenge and live up to their responsibilities of providing all the support required to make this laudable undertaking the kind of success that posterity will judge favorably.
Also speaking, the representative of the progressive governors, Governor Muhammad Inuwa Yahaya of Gombe State, said that the importance of rural roads and markets to the rural dwellers, who are predominantly farmers, cannot be overemphasized, and the progressive governors will continue to support such projects.
Whatever will give support to agric and marketing and accessibility in the rural areas is always welcome by the governors. And we have given this commitment, and we shall continue to do so in order to achieve. And we're happy that eventually all the remaining states will be scaled up so that it will cover the whole of the country. The benefits are really going to be very enormous, especially in the areas that people are really engaged in agricultural production.
Speaking earlier, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohammed Mahmoud Abubakar, stated that the rural road and market projects were carried out in Katsina, Kano, Kebbi, Kaduna, Sokoto, Niger, Plateau, Bauchi, Gombe, Kogi, Kwara, Abia, Akwa Ibom, Ebonyi, Ekiti, Oyo, Ogun, Ondo, and Osun states. Abubakar appreciated the President and the development partners for the project.
The flag off we are witnessing today by His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari is a clear testimony of this administration's commitment to ensuring food sufficiency, employment opportunities, and poverty reduction for our teeming rural population in Nigeria. As we celebrate the rebirth of the Rural Road and Agricultural Marketing Project, RAM, which is a third generation offshoot of the first and second phases of RAM project, being implemented in 19 states of the Federation. All hands must be on deck to ensuring the fulfillment of Mr. President's unflinching support for agricultural development in Nigeria.
The federal government has launched a strategic document to guide professionals and other stakeholders in containing transboundary animal diseases (TADs) in Nigeria. Speaking during the unveiling and launch of the 7 documents which took place at the State House Banquet Hall, Abuja, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, who was represented by the Minister of Health, Osage Ehanire, stated that the transboundary animal diseases cause huge health and economic losses to Nigeria.
The transboundary animal diseases are among the most economically devastating on livestock in West and Central African sub-region. In Nigeria, it is responsible for more than 29 billion naira losses annually in livestock subsector through mortality, morbidity, and trade restriction on Nigeria, occasioned by the endemicity of some of these diseases in our country. The federal government recognizes the key role the livestock industry plays in the provision of livelihoods for millions of our population in both rural and urban areas through its numerous value chain.
Also speaking during the occasion, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohammed Mahmoud Abubakar, stated that the ministry has established several animal health care centers across the country to contain animal diseases. Abubakar also called for signage among various levels of government and other stakeholders.
In order to address veterinary infrastructure deficit, we have constructed and equipped 1 number Federal Medical Center in Kano, 2 numbers Federal Hospitals in Kwara and Yobe, and 27 number primary animal health care centers in Benue, Edo, Delta, Enugu, Cross River, Niger, Plateau, Sokoto, Kebbi, Kaduna, Zamfara, Adamawa, Borno, Taraba, Yobe, Jigawa, Bauchi, Nasarawa, Kwara, Kogi, Ogun, and Osun State and the FCT to support the provision of quality and accessible animal health care service delivery at the grassroots level.
At the event, the Director of Veterinary Services in Plateau State, Shasiat Sipak, who represented all commissioners of agriculture, appreciated the Minister of Agriculture and pledged the support of all the commissioners in the implementation of the policy document in their various states.
We are going to liaise with the Federal Minister of Agriculture and after studying the document, and it is our own intention and plan that we will follow the strategic plan to the letter.
In a related development, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohammed Mahmoud Abubakar, recently led a team of stakeholders in the veterinary sector to the office of the Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, where they sought for collaboration with the Senate President in the fight against PPR, an animal disease responsible for high mortality in goats and sheep. The team from the Ministry of Agriculture also conferred on Senate President a title of Champion for Control of PPR in Nigeria in recognition of his support in the fight against the disease.
Curiously.
Speaking earlier, Senate President Ahmed Lawal appealed for more support to the nation's livestock sector in the face of its potentials for revenue generation of between 34 and 35 trillion naira annually.
Here you have a sector that has the potential of boosting our economy by maybe 30, 33, 34, 35 trillion naira annually, and yet it's neglected. Our livestock bearers have not received a fair deal all through our history.
The Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development recently organized a stakeholders workshop to reposition Nigeria yam export market. Speaking in a keynote address during the workshop, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Ns Afolabi Mahihe, who was represented by the Director, Federal Department of Agriculture, Abdullahi Garba Abubakar, urged the stakeholders to identify factors militating against the export of Nigeria yam in order to address the challenges.
There is need to critically examine the factors militating against quality production and export of our major commodities, of which yam is one of them.
Speaking in an interview with our correspondent at the end of the workshop, the President of National Association of Yam Farmers, Processors and Marketers, Professor Simon Twangi, stated that the challenges militating against the export of Nigeria yam include the need to enhance mechanization, packaging, logistics, the Export Prohibition Act, etc., and expressed hope that the workshop has been able to address them.
There are issues of transportation, logistics, generally from the point of harvest to the point of exit, where these commodities are going to be taken out of the country either by air or by ship, and the costs that are associated therewith. So there are a lot of, value chain issues that this meeting has been able to address.
The Institute for Agricultural Research, Zaria, and the Nigeria Root Crops Research Institute, Umudike, have been saddled with a mandate to research into different agricultural crops. These institutes have over the years developed, tested, and trusted technologies to advance agricultural production in the country. What are these technologies developed by the institutes, and what impact are they making, and what should stakeholders do to popularize these technologies? These and more will be the focus of our next segment, Record of the FDA. Keep watching.
The Institute of Agricultural Research, IAR Zaria, has recorded research breakthroughs in leguminous crops such as beans, groundnuts, and soya beans. The Institute has developed different varieties that are much better than the unimproved ones in terms of yield and early maturity.
We have varieties that have been developed specifically to be drought tolerant. We have varieties that are tolerant to diseases and pests. We have varieties that are high yielding compared to what farmers are used to planting. So these are tremendous advantages over what farmers are used to.
Cowpea, also known as beans, is one of the leguminous crops the IAR has researched and produced 20 varieties. The varieties are high-yielding and resistant to pests and diseases. One of the cowpea varieties developed by IAR is Sampier 20. This variety is a major breakthrough, not only for Nigeria, but also one of its kind in the whole of the African continent.
This particular variety is improved, genetically modified, such that instead of the normal spray regime of 7, in some cases, some farmers can spray up to 10 times for them to get their cowpea. In this case, the maximum that we have recorded is not more than 2 spray regimes, and you have your cowpea. So this is not only an achievement for the Institute, not only an achievement for the country, but I can say for the entire West African region, because it is the first of its kind that has ever been released in this continent.
Understanding the agronomical practices of leguminous crops that can boost productivity is another area of research undertaken by IAR. According to the researchers, fertilizer is better applied during the vegetative stage of the crop, especially within 2 weeks after planting.
There is also the placement method. How do you place it? Farmers around here, we see them, because of saving time, I don't know, maybe saving time is one of them, and saving costs maybe another one. You see the farmers spreading the fertilizers, like spreading it on the field. If it's a rice field or so, they're spreading it. And even when the crop is even like 2 weeks, they don't even do it They just sprayed it. So, but in our own case, we advise farmers, we have developed technologies to place the fertilizer by the side of the crop, which has been adopted. And then when you are also putting the fertilizer on the surface, there is high risk of volatilization. Volatilization is the fertilizer will become like gas and move, the fertilizer nutrient, half of it can be lost.
Preservation methods of storing leguminous crops is also important for farmers to understand in the value chain. Researchers recommend the safest way of storing the crop.
So for cowpeas specifically, we have a triple bagging technology, whereby a single bag has 2 layers of polythene, and then when it is sealed, it's completely absent. There's absence of oxygen in the container, in the bag, and then it protects the crop without using a single chemical to do it.
Cereal crops include maize, sorghum, rice, millet, and wheat. The Institute for Agricultural Research (IAR) has developed over 60 varieties of maize and over 50 varieties of sorghum, among others.
In the area of maize, we have developed maize varieties that whose productivity increased from some 30 years back, virtually 1.5 tons per hectare on the average or less. Now we have maize varieties that can produce up to 8 tons per hectare. In terms of sorghum, we are able to more than double productivity of sorghum from less than 1 ton per hectare to over 2 tons per hectare of sorghum. We have also cut down the maturity period of sorghum. Now sorghum can grow almost everywhere. The same thing with maize. We have developed extra early maize varieties that can grow even in the drier part of Nigeria, where maize usually used to be only heard of.
Aside high-yielding varieties of maize, sorghum, as well as other cereal crops, the Institute has also undertaken lots of problem-solving researches that increase the vitamins of these crops. IAR varieties of cereal crops are also resistant to striga weed. The striga weed is a parasitic weed that is very devastating to soil, which attaches itself to cereal crops and absorbs the nutrients and causes poor yield.
And some of them are resistant to some major pests and diseases, like streak-resistant varieties. We have, among those ones that we have, some of them are streak-resistant. So if you are in an ecological zone that streak virus is endemic, you go for that. We have striga resistant, and we know striga is a major problem of cereals production worldwide, not only in Nigeria. So those resistant varieties to striga have helped in increasing the yield from such heavily infested fields. And so in that way, we are helping in reducing the problems our farmers face.
The Institute has also proved that a planting system called double density, which requires a farmer planting 2 rows of a crop on the same ridge, is a system that boosts production of maize and other crops.
I will make an example where you are expecting 100,000 stands per hectare. This is just an example. When you are expecting 100,000 stands per hectare of maize in 1 hectare, when you adopt the double row or double density, it means you're going to have double the number of stands, the population of the maize per hectare. That means you have 200,000 stands per hectare. What that means is that the farmer who does this is going to see a difference in the yield. This has been subjected to research, and the difference between 100,000 plants and 200,000 plants is very significant. Significant for the farmer because it means he's going to have a higher income from his farming activity for that year. So at the end of the day, the farmer is very happy with what he has. What that aims to do is to improve the productivity of the farmer.
Another research institute that has made breakthroughs in research is the National Root Crops Research Institute, UMUDIKE. Its outstation, which is the Potato Research Institute, Kuru, in Plateau State, was established in 1976 to conduct research into genetic improvement of potato production and storage. It also trains extension workers and promotes good agronomic practices in potato farming.
New varieties of potato, and those varieties has to do with disease resistance and high yielding. And also, if there are a kind of importation of potato seed or clones, we need to evaluate them for local diseases that are coming in. And some of our research focus too centers on cleaning disease seeds on the plateau. And it might not really plateau alone, any place that potato is being produced.
In the light of its mandate, the potato program at the Institute focuses on developing improved seedlings, research into best agronomical practices to increase yield. Potato is a perishable crop. As such, besides ensuring that production of potatoes, the Institute also made a breakthrough in the area of prevention of post-harvest losses.
We have developed a lot of technologies that will help the farmers in potato production. Some of those technologies include diffuse light store, where you store your potato after harvest. We also develop a positive selection for diseases. We also develop rogging. We also develop stem cutting technology that's under tissue culture. And we also developed potato seed multiplication.
The outcome of agricultural research is better appreciated when you hear testimonies of those that have applied it for the betterment of their farming activities. In our next segment, Farmers Speak, we shall hear from farmers who have been using technologies developed by IAR and the Potato Research Institute. Do keep watching.
Clear difference, because they brought, I can remember it was some 14. Is that, Assistant Secretary? Some 14. We started with it. They brought it here and we tested the seed. We have seen the differences. We can't compare it with our own. So that is why now if you follow all this town and around, you can't get another seed apart from the one from IR, isn't it? Because of the, advantage and good result we are having from farming.
Before I made the Root Crops Research Institute in 2019, I couldn't break even. I think it was a complete failure because it just wasn't the right seedlings. But after I met them, the seedlings I got, I was able to multiply it and get even more. Yes, I haven't harvested, but this clearly is a significant improvement on what we were doing before. The seedlings is the right one. The farming practices is okay. You can see we've been able to control weed. We applied fertilizer and every other inputs at the right time, of course, with their technical support. And I've seen a lot of changes. There's a clear word of difference between what we have now and what we had last year.
A lot of research breakthroughs have been made by these research institutes, and it is imperative for the private sector and the government at all levels to work together with these research institutes to ensure that the farmers have access to these technologies and adopt them for better production. Join us again, same time, same station for another interesting episode of the program. Compliment of the season. Bye for now.